Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to the Are You Listening Stand Up Now show, guys. I'm over here in Florida. I got an amazing show for you guys today. Powerful interview from a military veteran, father, and just someone, just a true patriot. Drew, outstanding. Thanks for coming in and being on our show, brother. I know I'm looking forward to all the questions you have and the powerful story that you have to share with our viewers. Thanks for taking the time to jump on with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's an honor.
Yeah, so you're from Minnesota, but you're actually down here in a trip. You're in Florida, just in another city from me. So how are you enjoying the weather down here in Florida, getting away from that cold snow in Minnesota? I know you got to have a good time.
Yep, it's a little hot, humid, but I'm enjoying it. I'm from Minnesota, but Army, 17 years in uniform. I've been all over Georgia, Florida, Fort Campbell, and then all the deployments in the Middle East. So I like to travel around, and I've lived in Texas, Arizona. So it's a great country, and I love just traveling and getting out there.
I love that. So yeah, you're a very adventurous guy. I mean, kind of your back history before you went through this thing that happened to you, and we'll dive into that, guys. It's powerful. You have to wait to see. What's your favorite state or country that you traveled to while you were in the military for all those years? And first of all, thank you very
Well,
much for your service, Drew. I know I told you that before, but I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Thank you very much for your
thank you.
sacrifice.
Yeah, I appreciate the support. It's an honor. I like to serve. I like to help out and do what I can and learn some skills and kind of see the country and the world. Yeah, I mean, best country is America, of course. But other than that, traveling around. I mean, I went to Dubai on this last deployment. Was there for a small operation for about 4 days, so that was interesting to see the UAE and just see something else out there. So that was pretty cool. But otherwise, America goes. Texas is amazing, and they're going through a lot of stuff right now. So I've been paying attention to kind of what Texas is doing. But that's always a fun state to visit.
Yeah, no doubt. They're dealing with a lot down there, and hopefully the reserve and everybody's in the state government's able to do what needs to be done because they're definitely facing the brunt of it. So we support Governor Abbott for what they're doing. Definitely need to take a stand. It's almost like the Alamo days, right? What they're facing with down there.
Absolutely. Yeah, I had a short stint in the Texas National Guard for about a year while I was living down there, and it's interesting. It's definitely a different lifestyle, and all the cities are very different. Dallas is different from Austin, from San Antonio, and I was at El Paso last year for or around there for that Baton Death March. I went down to help out a veteran organization, be a water stand person. It was always a dream of mine to do the Baton Death March, the whatever 26 miles. It goes back to a historical military operation. It's a huge story, and they do that every year. So I was able to help out all the people that were going through that Baton Death March.
That's awesome, man. I love the fact that your story's so powerful, but that now that you're able to stand and stand up, that you're doing everything you can to support other veterans and just getting out there. It's very powerful. Before we dive into that testimony, just a little to kind of hit the, break the ice, get everything flow. I know we had some good conversations, but this is something that my co-host Bo over there in California, who's doing the switches for us, we couldn't do this without him. He likes to do. So we're going to hit some rapid fire questions with you real quick. So I hope you're ready. I hope you're tuned up and sharpened. We're not making this too hard for you, but I heard you like 90s culture. I heard you like some 90s culture.
Yep, that's my jam. I grew up in that, or I was born in the 80s, 84, very great year. And then 90s was just my jam when it came to the animated shows, the movies. I just rewatched The Rock with Ed Harris, Sean Connery, Nick Cage, all those, and just a great movie.
Yeah, that was a good movie. Wow, you just brought that back. That was a good movie. Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, so we're not going to die too much, but this will be easy for you. So we're going to start off light. We'll go from there. What's your favorite sports team?
Vikings.
Minnesota Vikings.
They're,
Love
they're
it.
the
Love it. Love
Minnesota
it.
Vikings. They don't win too much. They went to the Super Bowl twice and didn't quite make it. But I got to stand by my Minnesota Vikings.
Kirk Cousins, I gotta love him. Kirk Cousins, he's a true man of God, true Christian. I respect Kirk Cousins. I like you on that. Hometown, got to go with the home team. Rifle or handgun? What are you going for first?
Rifle, M4. I've been around it so much; it's just second nature.
Nice. That's the military vet in them, guys. You gotta love that. Gotta love that. Fresh Prince or Saved by the Bell?
Fresh
Got him
Prince.
on that one.
That's
Got
tough.
him on
That's
that one. There
tough.
you go. Made him think.
Close,
Made him
close
think.
call.
We got him. We got him.
Can I get a follow-up question there?
Go ahead.
Okay, you said Fresh Prince, so I gotta say Will Smith or Tupac.
Tupac.
Okay, so you
Oh,
abandoned
nice.
him.
Yeah.
Nice. Nice.
No,
Yeah.
sorry, Will Smith. Just end the stuff in the last couple of years with him.
Yeah.
But no, Tupac. Tupac is awesome. California love.
No
All right.
doubt. No doubt. There you go. Shout out to Bo's home state. There we go. There we go. Favorite superhero?
Superman. Okay, real quick. I always grew up loving Superman. I'm adopted myself, so I was just related to someone coming up being raised by awesome parents in Kansas, that type of thing. But as I growing up, I've begun to relate more to Batman. Just be prepared for anything and just take it on as many skills. And I can get into that later. But yeah, I'm diving more into Batman. My son says he's Batman, and then I'm Superman, so I'll kind of accept that. But
I love that. I love that. I'm glad you exaggerated on that. I love that. I love that. And then this is a shout out to Joe Biden. What's your favorite ice cream?
Good one. Peanut butter chocolate chip.
That's
I
my
ate
wife.
a lot of that.
My wife.
I'll talk
My
about it
wife.
later. But yeah, getting out of the hospital, I'll get into it later. But I lost about 45 pounds. So coming out of that, I ate. The doctor said eat as much ice cream as you want. So I had a lot of peanut butter chocolate chip.
This is not medical advice. This is not medical advice. Nice. And I'm a big believer, and I know we spoke, and you two are as well. If you went to the Bible, or you go into Psalms or Proverbs, what's kind of your go-to on that? Right in the middle of the book, right in the middle of the Bible.
It's tough. I like the ones that I can't recall right now, but just where the angels can stand up, have a double-edged sword, because it takes strong people to stand up to evil, and just the ones that really just grab your attention and say you need to go when you need to go into battle. It's time to be strong. So.
Gotcha. I love that. So one last thing, because when I met you 2 years ago at AmeriFest, when you were still in your motorized wheelchair, just 2 years ago. That's when we first time we met. And I had a vision of starting this podcast back then, and I knew when I met you that you were one of the first people that I want to have on. Took a little while to get things going, as it often does. And this last year, we were at AmeriFest. We saw each other again. We reconnected. And told you, hey, we're going to have you on soon. And matter of fact, Bo was going around meeting people as well, and he also met you. So as we're going through the list of people, we were like, hey, we got to have Drew on right from the start. His story's so powerful. We know it's going to help so many people. Yeah. But you didn't have a beard. So what does your wife think about that big beard you got
now? She's okay with it. She loves it. She likes not kissing all the time, but kind of hold me and we're being my support person. That helps. So just when she's like, yep, I'll hold on to it, but it gets a little annoying. But she's like, I love looking at it, so which is cool. And yeah, just to recall my Bible verse, it's Revelation 1:16. What was that one? So
gotcha.
One.
Yeah. No doubt. Thank you for sharing that and for clarifying that. We appreciate that. And that's interesting that that's your verse, because that's the book of the tribulation, right? And that's kind of what your story has been through, has kind of been a tribulation in a sense, right?
Yeah, it's not always going to be good times. That's what we go for. We prepare for the best, or hope for the best, prepare for the worst. And there's been some tough times in history, in religion, in the Bible, and it's not always sunshine and rainbows. And we have to know that, teach that to our kids, and just prepare each other, ourselves, our friends, our spouses. That it's going to be tough. We have to know that. But
yeah. No, I'm glad that you shared that. So we're going to go ahead and dive in. And anybody that's listening, guys, you guys have to listen to this amazing story. If you hear it, you're going to want to share this with somebody. There's no doubt about it. But you're going to gain something from this man's strength. You're going to relate to something that he went through, even if it wasn't as severe as what he went through. Somebody that's listening is going through something right now, whether it's depression, some type of battle internally that they're facing, and you're going to get some motivation from this. So we're going to play this brief clip and then we'll dive into this. This is from Drew's docu-series that you can find on his channel, but we'll go ahead and play this for you guys real quick, then we'll dive into it. So Drew, watching those video clips, taking you back, and I don't want to mispronounce the name. Correct me if I'm wrong, but is Guillain-Barré syndrome? Is that what you were technically diagnosed with? GBS?
GBS, the way I've heard of it is Guillain-Barré. Guillain-Barré. It's nicknamed the the French polio. So some people say Guillain-Barré. I think that's probably I don't care either way. GBS is fine. I'd rather not say it over and over again and just be rid of it. But this is the world we live in right now.
I love that. I love that you don't want to give the name the attention. And I think there's power in that. I know there's power in that. Me as a cancer survivor, getting diagnosed with leukemia, back 14 years ago now, that I not allowing that seed to take root, there's power in that. And this man did the exact same thing when he was going through his struggles. And that's what I loved about having him on, because there was a lot of things that he went through. And we'll let you just briefly, how did this come about? How did this come on you?
Yep, in
Take us back.
2021. Yeah, 2021. It was a crazy time for all of us. We didn't know what to think about. The country, the world was going through a lot, and yeah, I started to get pretty sick. I started to get. It was a stressful time. I had an infant son at the time, going through grad school, federal contractor job. Finally got like briefly my job, my dreams, basically, where I was able to make good money, support my family, fun work environment, all of that. And I was still serving in the Minnesota National Guard, Army Guard as well. And I started to get tingling in my hands, like, oh, it's nothing. I'm just going to suck it up. I'm normally healthy. And then I started to get muscle weakness, couldn't pick up, the remote control. It was getting tough to hold my son. And I'm like, maybe it's just stress. I don't know. And then I go to sleep, wake up, and I can't move. I can't sit up. I can't move my shoulders. I can barely move my hands and my feet. And I have to like scream to my wife in the other room because I slept in. I normally don't sleep in, past 8 o'clock, and it was getting past 8. Um, and I said, "Hey, I need to go to the hospital right now. I don't know what's going on." And she had to pick me up with her arms, drag me. First, he made a stop in the bathroom, which was pretty crazy. I just kind of flopped down on the toilet. And it's like, I need to go to the hospital right now. And get there. They run all these tests: CAT scan, MRI, blood tests, everything you can think of. It all comes back negative. But they've seen this before. They said, "We know that you have Guillain-Barré syndrome." And I'm like, I couldn't believe them. It just seemed like, okay, where's the evidence? What are you talking about? And they're like, we need to do a spinal tap, a lumbar puncture, to find out for sure. And so they do that, and then they get the evidence they need. I can't remember what it was, spike proteins or something, and immediately they rush me off to the NICU, the neurological ICU, into surgery, into all this stuff, and then that's just when my whole world changed.
So this is back in 21. Now you were in the military, and I know there was a lot of things going on. We all know what was going on back in that time and what the militaries were told that they had to do if they wanted to stay into the military. How long after you were made to follow that process that a lot of military veterans had to do, or they were kicked out, did you start to feel those symptoms?
Immediately. So
Okay.
I get yep. I follow up with what I'm told to do. I have to do this, and if not, a lot of bad things are going to happen. So I go to the VA to say, all right, I'm here to do this, and immediately I get sick. I get flu-like symptoms, and it doesn't go away. And then that's when and then immediately comes, while that's going on, I'm still feeling this flu-like stuff. and then the tingling in the hands, the muscle weakness, and then the paralysis. It just happened
Wow.
so quickly, and yeah, came in like crazy. And like I said, when I went into that neurological ICU, they're like, all right, we need to put you into a coma when you intubate you in order to do the plasmapheresis and IVIG. It's basically, from what I understand, they take my blood out, clean it up, and put it back. And I have
Yeah.
to be under for that. I end up staying in this uh, coma for about a week for them to do these processes. And I guess some of them took and some didn't.
Mm. So I want to. You mentioned the coma, and I was watching your docuseries, and it's powerful, guys. I want to bring you back because I will show a brief clip of that. This is where your wife, and I got to tell you, man, you're a blessed man. And listening to your story, you have a wonderful wife who, and before this happened to you, you were very adventurous. You were like jumping out of planes and rock climbing, and you were just a go getter, right? On top of all the years you served in the military, but you have a wonderful wife that stood by you this whole time. So I want to give credit for that. I know that you absolutely love her. And we got to give respect and value to the strong women and that wife, that partner in our life that God's blessed us with.
Yeah, actually, I proposed to her. We jumped out of a plane together. Maybe you're gonna bring that up, but yeah, we jumped out of a plane, came down. I made sure I came first, and I proposed right when she dropped down from the sky.
That's awesome. Well, hey, that's one way to take the breath away from them when you're proposing. Make them jump out of airplane first, so they can't say no fast.
I just want to make sure not to lose the ring on the way down.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure that was in your mind. Am I going to say the right thing or not lose a ring? Good job. But anyway, so I want to bring you back here and just show this brief clip, and then because you mentioned the coma, so this is kind of a recap, guys. You can see what this man went through, and this was in 2021, right? So this was just a little over 2.5 years ago, Drew.
Yep, it was like about May time. So coming
Okay,
up on
all right.
3 years, 3 year
Coming up on 3
anniversary.
years. Coming up 3. So, guys, if you can relate to this or somebody be in that hospital bed, watch this, and we're going to dive a little more.
Everything. They had to put a peg in, which is something they put in your stomach directly so you can get nutrients. They did plasmapheresis, which is basically taking your blood and cleaning it and then putting it back in. So, and I remember that was him saying that was part of his coma dream, that he could feel it. He could feel the treatment happening to him, but he couldn't do anything about it. It was very out of it, didn't know what was going on. So
While I was in the coma, it was like a dream, and yeah, it was the most intense dream I've ever had, and it did shift the way I look at life in more of a balance as well, of being grateful for everything that I have, everything that I will have, and still striving to keep going.
And he was at that point coming out of a coma dream, which is pretty vivid and pretty intense. His eyes were wide, like, is this real? What's happening? What's going on? Type of thing. So he was really confused.
So watching that video clip, Drew, does that take you back to that dream coming out of that? I'm curious, when you're coming out of that coma stage, what was that like? What was the first thing that you can remember that comes to your mind from that?
Yeah, and maybe we can go into that later of the details within that dream. It was one of those near-death experiences. I'm not really ready to go into it right now, but it was a religious experience. I was able to see things from a different perspective. It was like a dream, a nightmare that I knew was happening, but I couldn't wake up from. So think of a video game, a simulation, whatever. But it was one of those things that it tested me, and it kept getting more intense along the way as it went on. Maybe because of what they were doing to my body on the outside, and it was having an impact on my mind. But yeah, it was like a torture video game that just kept getting more and more intense, related to my friends and family and just life. So yeah, if you want to talk about that another time, I'd be willing to go kind of in depth with that. But waking up from that, I felt the most appreciation for life. It was another chance. It was tough because I'm waking up into a new body. And as soon as I woke up from it, I was absolutely paralyzed from head to toe. Even my eyelids were paralyzed. I didn't know this at the time. So I would close my eyes. I thought I was closing my eyes. My pupils would roll back into my, backwards. I think maybe everybody does that, and our eyelids go down, but my eyelids would stay open. So I'd look like the Undertaker from WWE to everybody else. Yeah, my physical therapist, they're like, yeah, you're not closing your eyelids. And they took a picture of me and I looked like the Undertaker. I'm like, wow, okay, there's that now. That's interesting. But yeah, completely paralyzed, and I just really appreciated it. I woke up with my wife next to me holding my hand, so there was that, and it felt like I wasn't alone. And keep in mind, these were extreme COVID protocols. She could only be there for up to 2 hours a day,
Mm.
and just all these things. Had to wear all the gowns, all the masks, all the visors and everything. It was the stuff of either a movie or nightmares.
Wow. So going through this, yeah, you forget you were only allowed 2 hours a day where you could actually have somebody that cared about you, that loved you in that room as you're going through that experience. So how long were you in this medically induced coma for?
About a week.
Wow. Wow. And waking up, because you just weeks before you were perfectly fine. Now you're a week long in this coma, waking up, with that appreciation, but now you're paralyzed. You can't even open your eyes, you can't feel anything from the neck down. That had to be I can't imagine how you must have felt, as being a strong enough
It's
person that you are.
undescribable. Yeah, it's undescribable. Doing these interviews, these podcasts is the only way I'm able to kind of wrap my head around it, because it's one of those things where you don't want to remember it. You try to put it away from you, and I would rather not talk about all this stuff. It's depressing. It's painful to go back and forth. But when I got home from the hospital, I was in the hospital for 6 months, and then I was able to be released. And for that 3 months afterwards, I was basically a vegetable. I was laying on the couch or the bed and had to be moved, escorted everywhere, and that doesn't feel good. I'm an independent person. For all my life, I've just been on my own, wanting to do my own thing, not demanding help from anybody else. And like you said, traveling, rock climbing, uh, doing all that kind of stuff. I did half marathon Spartan races a year before this happened. And so it was such a shift. And I even get home, and like I said, it's tough to talk about this stuff, but it's absolutely necessary, because being on Twitter, on X, I'm now, the more I talk, the more people reach out to me. They're like, either I have or had Guillain-Barré syndrome, or these similar symptoms, or all these things. Or a lot of people, the hardest thing is when parents talk to me about this stuff happening to their children, who are either
Mhm.
still suffering or they had to lay them to rest, way far beyond before the time that they should have.
Yeah, well, I give you I give you props for being able to have the strength to share, because as tough as it is, you sharing is helping people, and it's helping you too. Because like you said, when you were on that in the house inside, in the winter, 3 months, all these drugs, you're in multiple therapies, learning how to walk again, basically, wheelchair and canes, and going through all this stuff. You found a sense of community through these Twitter spaces you mentioned, right?
Yep, Twitter Spaces. That's been the easiest way that I've been able to. When Elon Musk bought it, this is about the time that you and I met at AmFest, and I'm like, I got to get out. I got to get out in a safe way, with my limitations in mind, and connect with everybody else in the real world. I spent way too much time laying down, sitting down, watching TV, taking all these pharmaceutical meds, and just eating garbage food. And it's like, okay, that was good for a time, and now it's time to get back to really living. And yeah, when I heard Elon Musk bought Twitter and said, "All right, we're going to open up to less censorship when it comes to these related topics," it's like, all right, I'm going to check it out. And then I found this. I'm like, okay, I'm going to listen to some of these spaces, and it was people talking about this kind of stuff. And then I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to request a mic, because they allow you to do that. And then people let me come up and kind of speak and share my story. And then before I know it, I'm hosting my own spaces. So I try to do that about once a week, once every week on a given evening, when I have the strength to do that, and it works. I can pause and let other people kind of take the wheel, and been able to connect with other people that are injured in this kind of way, similar symptoms, or have had their career impacted in the last couple years by making their own decisions for themselves.
Yeah, I love that. Look what conversating and having that free speech availability. Look what the power in that does. They're trying to limit what can be said. They don't want us to communicate because they know that when we can inspire one another. You can hear somebody's testimony and you can be like, I'm not alone in this. Here's a guy that served our nation and he could have laid down. He could have stayed, doing, taking on those How many pharmaceutical meds did they have you on?
It was well above 20, and it was because of all the symptoms. Basically, with Guillain-Barré syndrome, all of my digestive systems, breathing, I still can't see it, but I have the trach scar still. So yeah, the breathing tube, the respiratory, digestive, cognitive. It's classified under a neuromuscular illness. So neuro meaning brain and muscular system, but pretty much everything shut down and had to be restarted in safe mode like a computer. And just that process, that's why even a couple years later now, I still have the facial paralysis. My arms and legs, I still have constant nerve pain at every movement. If I lay completely still, it hurts a little bit, but the second I move, breathe, I get that nerve pain. And anything else intense ratchets up to 10. But yeah, it's so hard to understand. But when I can talk with other people, similar symptoms, the neuropathy, the immobility, and and yeah, it's tough to talk about, but it's absolutely necessary because. And then I connect with other people, amputees, other people in the military that have had Gulf War syndrome, the Agent Orange stuff, a lot of things in the past decades. I'm connecting with young and old veterans, and on these different trips, these adaptive sports trips that are basically saved my life. I can get into it later, but one goal I have, I want to be a mono skier. So, have you seen these things? These sit down skis, and people are becoming just really great at them. So, I'm working on my neuropathy and nerve pain and managing my fatigue, but I'm connecting with organizations that are supporting veterans to do adaptive skiing.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Here you are still having pain, still going through the stuff, and you're not taking this lying down. You said, even though, I have these pains that shoot up to 10, I'm still going to push forward because I know, and you're looking forward to skiing. You're not just going to settle for where you are. I love that about you, Joy. I love that about your story, that you didn't take this lying down. You decided to take a stand. And not only are you taking a stand for yourself, but helping others in the process, which is in turn helping you. And I think that's amazing. I give you all the credit for that. Recently, you were just took a trip to Iowa. I saw, right, where you're continuing to push and speak and be a voice.
Yeah, I heard a lot of the podcast people that I follow and listen to. They have their own skills, and they said that they're going to Iowa, talking to politicians. Politicians, they're going there for the caucus, and I live about 4 hours away, so we decided to do a little road trip. I got help from my buddy, my college friend, and I was able to make it work in very cold conditions. I mean, better than the heat, of course, at times, but still tough. Like I can't walk very far, if not at all, with all these devices. I always live with these ankle foot orthotics. I can't walk without them. Basically, I have foot drop. So these things wrap around my legs, go underneath the shoe sole, and then keep my foot from not catching every time I try to lift it up. Otherwise, I face plant every time. So between the AFOs, cane is basically an extension of my arm. I guess I traded an M4 for a wooden cane. I did upgrade it. I got a good one from the VA now, very army style and pretty cool. But yeah, I got this cane, and then yeah, for the longer stuff, I need that power wheelchair. But it's worth it, even if it's not fun to have these devices, and I probably look goofy doing it. But I'm at a point I don't care. I'd rather be making it through, suffering through whatever. I don't care what anybody else thinks. It's better than laying on that hospital bed, what you were seeing over there, because one wrong move, and I'm back there, and I have returned to the ER, the emergency department, about 4 to 6 times a year for the last couple of years, because some random thing happens. I catch a cold, and then I can't breathe, and so that's usually the indicator to go back to the hospital is when I can't breathe. Otherwise, yeah, I try to suck it up through the nerve pain. But I think we started when you're asking for those number of
No, no.
medications, and Yeah,
Yeah, no,
but yeah, the medications just each new symptom I had, I told the doctors, and I'm pretty blunt and honest. I'm like, hey, this is happening. And they're like, oh, yeah, take this medication now. And then that caused three more symptoms and then just started escalating. So I'm finding a better balance of exercise, physical therapy, eating better. I basically eliminated a lot of stuff. I'm down to meat and vegetables and water. So that's what I try to stick to every day. I mean, I might have my cheat day and do some Taco Bell and live Moss, but I really just go for that meat and vegetables and water.
good for you. You got to have that cheat day. Everybody has to get the cheat day, and I can relate to that with the doctors just giving you medicines. I remember when I was going through my cancer treatment, the side effects were just brutal. They were just so bad from the cancer treatment. I could not take it at that time, and I was having these excruciating migraines, and so they send me to a neurological doctor. And they were like, "Oh, take this," and then I take that, and that doesn't. Oh, you got to take this. It was like in a course of 6 months, I had tried 12 different medications, and they were doing all these things to me until finally I was like, this is not the path that I want to go on, because I found out a lot of these medicines that help with this, they cross over and they're treating people for depression and like all these different things. And it was changing who I was, and I saw it. And I said, you know what? I'm not going to do any of this. So I applaud you for doing the same thing, taking control of your diet, doing everything that you can to take control of your health, and to speak back to, if anybody looks at you or sees you in your wheelchair or thinks differently, that person's a coward, to be able to look at somebody and judge them based on how they appear, because you don't know what they've been through and what put them there, so I would never let that affect anything, and yeah, I would just have that to add to
Yeah,
it.
it did at first. It did at first, but the enjoyment and the look on people's face when we can share this story. I don't go up and say this to just anybody, but you and I connected on a pretty cool level right away. And then yeah, it's we're able to share these stories and kind of understand who we are as humans and kind of what we got to go through. And going back to the 90s movies and 2000s pop culture, you see some of these older guys. I was watching The Prestige the other day, and so Hugh Jackman falls off he's the magician in there, falls out, injures his leg, and now he's walking around with a cane. I think he went from London to Colorado Springs in that short time, and he went across the country at that time period and was using a cane and limping the whole time. So it's like, all right, I'm not going to let these limitations kind of get me down from really enjoying life, helping out other people, and learning some skills and growing some thick skin along the way.
I love that. I love that you were able to take that and just say, you know what? I'm doing this. I'm not going to let anything hold me back. And that's the mentality that we need to have. That's the mentality we need to have in this nation, I think, as a whole, with everything that's going on. And we can easily, hide inside or stay away or not address issues. We need to address them and say, you know what? I'm going to push through this because I know that I can do better, that there is better. So you were in Iowa, to bring this back. I want to point this out. So you were able to actually ask Vivek, at that time he was still in the race. You were able to ask him directly a question related to what you went through. We want to play that clip for our audience, but then we'll let you share on the experience. But you guys got to watch this, and I think it's powerful that this man didn't allow the fact of all these devices he needs to walk, the troubling cold, everything it was. I mean, it was negative 12 degrees in Iowa, and you showed up. I think that's amazing.
Yep, and I showed up early. It's just my Army mentality. I show up early because there's going to things that kind of get in the way. So I was the second person in line in the doors to open up. So I was ready to
Love
go
that.
and got a front seat.
Love that. Love that. Didn't let anything hold him back, and he got to ask Vivek a question. Check this out, guys.
This question's for Vivek, but Candace, feel free to add in since you've done a lot of journalism on the topic. I speak not only for myself, but for countless others without a voice and parents that had to bury their children too early. How will you achieve tangible accountability for those permanently damaged by the COVID-19 vaccines? When will it happen, and why is it important to you? Army Sergeant Retired Drew. Thank you.
Drew, thank you for your service to this country. Thank you, Drew. I'll say a couple of things, and you're right. Candace has been ahead of the curve on this issue for the last several years. But I'll tell you what we can do. You can't change the past, but you can at least make sure that where there has been injury, there must be justice. And I think, as far as I know, I'm the only presidential candidate to pledge to do this. I will require Congress for this one. I'll try to be clear, but it will require Congress. I will repeal the special liability exemptions that pharmaceutical companies enjoy in this country. It is dead wrong, and it is unjust. Normally, any product that's sold to you, if it harms you, you can sue the manufacturer, except for vaccine manufacturers. Why? Crony capitalism, pharmaceutical industry lobbying. It's disgusting. And actually, I love Reagan as a president for a lot of things that he did. He was wrong on this one. And actually, closing the psychiatric hospitals was the same thing. Reagan was actually pretty good at getting lobbied by the pharmaceutical industry. People will get mad for me saying that. It's just a fact.
It is a fact.
Doesn't take away from his other accomplishments. So that's number one. Number two relates specifically, this one doesn't require Congress. I'm going to do it in my capacity as commander-in-chief for our U.S. military, especially for you as someone who served. That's why I'm adding this extra element to this. Anybody who lost their job in the U.S. military for making what for many of those young men is obviously the right choice, young men and women alike, is that you will have your position restored with full back pay times 1.5. That's something I'm committed to do as the next president of the United States as well, and make sure something like this never happens again. So those are two examples of tangible things I'll be able to deliver you.
And I'd like to give the obligatory for our friends over at YouTube. Make sure you talk to a trusted medical health professional and not podcasters about how to take care of your health needs.
Great.
But thank you so much for your question. There's so many people that have been injured and hurt here, and they don't have a voice, so thank you for being that voice.
Did you have a follow-up, Candace?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to add on to it just to make sure that people understand this is the issue I'm the most passionate about. I have an entire show called A Shot in the Dark to educate people. It was not the COVID-19 vaccine first, it's all of the vaccines. And people are not aware of what the ingredients are not aware that the FDA insert, I created the show, I do not use weird sources. It's the CDC website and the FDA inserts that warn you of what can happen if you take these vaccines. It's important for people to understand the history of the illnesses that you think you're fearful of, that you have no idea. Mumps, measles, rubella, people don't know anything about these diseases and yet think that Big Pharma came and cleaned these things up. It's a deep dive that I've done. It's the most important work that I do. And to know that these injuries, people getting sick, the seizures, the autoimmune diseases that we're seeing today, it is all related to the vaccines that they're giving children, and it is directly related to the lobbying. We've got more Big Pharma lobbyists than we do have Congress members in DC, and that is entirely problematic. But if you are a parent or if you are just a person that is not educated about vaccines, I created an entire series on it called A Shot in the Dark. And as I said, we only use above the board because I am not a doctor. You should not listen to me. I am just a mother of 3 children. I don't vax any of my children, as people know. But it's get educated, be informed before you jump in.
Yeah. So Drew, how was that experience being able to address that, and what did you feel about the response that you were able to get at that event?
I was impressed by their response. They asked for questions ahead of time, and I immediately, typed it up on my phone and put it through and sent it. I didn't get any verification that I was going to get able to ask. And then it was really interesting. And what Tim did, Tim Pool, he's got Timcast IRL at this event. He told Vivek, he's like, all right, we got some prepared questions. And Vivek said, no, we'll just shoot him off the cuff, ask anything. And if I can't answer the question or it's a hot topic, then I'll deal with that as I talk about it. And he's like, I'm not scared of any question. So I thought that was an absolutely amazing response.
Wow.
Or ahead of time, and then how he answered the question as well of supporting not only the people that have been injured due to these required decisions in the past couple of years, but also the individuals who said no to this and then said and had their jobs, their benefits, military members, their careers destroyed and kicked out and given a less than honorable discharge. It's wrong. And something needs to change happen despite news cycles going from one thing to the next. This needs to be looked at by our leaders.
You're right. Yeah, I love that you shared that about him, that he was willing to not be like a normal politician and take like a censored question to kind of make sure he could answer it correctly. He was like, no, just give it to me and I'll deal with it. And he did a great job. That was on the fly. That's really good. I agree with him 100% on everything he said about Reagan, kind of where it came from. It does take an act of Congress, but it's going to take, continual voices like yourself and many other out there that have been through this, that needs to keep this issue forefront. Because you're right, the news cycle change. They like to bury these things, so it's not addressed and it's forgotten. It's like the forgotten voices, So I give you credit for not allowing that to happen.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. It's the right thing to do, and those who can do the right thing should do the right thing. And if I can't do that myself, I don't know how I can explain that to my son, telling him what he should do along the way. He's very young right now, but he's going to go through stages in life, and I got to be able to. When I tell him to do something, I got to tell them that there's a reason for this, not just because I'm telling you what to do and I'm an authority figure. So if I'm not living that myself, then I have no business telling him. And for all the craziness that's going on today and then the last 5 years or so, um, the history books are going to look at this time, and we have to be able to say we did all that we could, despite all of our limitations, my physical, mental, all these limitations, and just being one guy from the Midwest. But I got to be able to, if I can make a difference, I'm going to.
I got a question. So I think that, the true reparations here are what Vivek's talking about, people that got taken out of work and possibly got injured. I didn't hear it in his response, and correct me, please, if I'm wrong. Did I hear him say that he would try to make a way to sue these pharmaceutical companies? Or was it
Yep,
just
that's
the
a
one
big
after?
thing. That's the big thing is they still hold an emergency use authorization. The EUA says that they're not allowed to be sued. And I'm sure there's legal loopholes and it's going to take time and money and people that have a backbone, but but yeah, that has to be removed. I don't know why it's still there. It's above my pay grade, but yeah, those legal liability
Did Vivek say he
protections
would
that they
remove
have.
it?
Yeah, he said it would
Okay.
take an congressional partnership and different types of things, but he said he would do anything we can. Where now he's out of the race. Hopefully, he's working with President Trump, former President Trump. The leading person in Iowa and New Hampshire, and going on to South Carolina. So hopefully that carries on. I'm going to be following it closely and to see what happens. And I want to see politicians not just talk about things, but actually have real results that help people save lives and provide accountability for previous people's mistakes.
Yeah, and given your situation, you're going to need way more than 1.5 times what you were owed. You're going to need, the ability to sue these companies will give you everything you need for your future. That's what I see here. So going back to you, yeah, accountability.
Yeah, and it's fine. I'll fight for my stuff. I'm able to survive. I'm living the best life I can. I really just don't want this to happen again because it could come back around and with a new variation and a new change. And if we fall for it again, or leaders either push this or stand by and look the other way, um, then that should not happen again. So I'm very strategic mind in my military training background and be able to see things kind of dominoes going a certain way. So being an election year, it's we got to be aware of what's going on.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I love that. So Vivek said, this takes Congress. This isn't something that a president can sign, because it was an act of Congress that put it in, and Reagan signed it. So it takes Congress people. It takes congressmen like Jerome Davison that was just on our show. Those type of true patriots, ones that are willing to get in there and do work, ones that aren't owned by the pharmaceutical companies and the lobbyists already, to actually fight for the American people and the military and all the people like yourself that have sacrificed so much for this over the years, and many others, children, all types of families, there's all types of things that come from this. Drew, in all of this, what do you want personally to accomplish in this? I know you mentioned your son and giving him an example and someone he can look up to that didn't take this lying down, that actually took a stand for what mattered to him. What do you want to personally see carried out and accomplished in this? What's your goal in that?
I'll talk to anybody who's genuine, whether it be politician, journalist. Rand Paul has been doing some great stuff by holding other people accountable, and he does a lot with that, with taxpayer money. Because keep in mind, a lot of things that go on are taxpayer money. That's where it comes from. So I'm sure you know about God-given rights, negative rights versus positive. A lot of people think that government gives us these rights, but no, they're giving us. We're born with them from our Creator of being able to protect ourselves, property, life, liberty, all those just basic things. And government is just supposed to maintain that we have them, supposed to protect us. And that's not what has been happening. And so I want to talk to anybody to remove these legal protections, and then just do whatever can so this doesn't happen again. I've been working with different politicians. Rep. Corey Mills in Florida has been. I met him at America Fest this last time, and he said he's on board. He'll work with me, do whatever he can. I'm planning a trip to DC right now, probably around the CPAC time. So anybody around that time that would like to connect with me and sit down, plan something, I put me in the game, coach.
I love it. I love that. And what's the best way for them to reach you? You host Twitter Spaces all the time. I know your Twitter handle. We'll put it out there, but give that a shout out. Let people know about your Twitter Spaces, how they can connect with you, because many people are going to run across this and they're going to want to reach out to you.
On Twitter, on X, it's at Drew Outstanding. So I got a little blurb on there about my space host, Guillain-Barré syndrome, impacted. And yeah, and still that we got to be able to laugh and have fun too. So I got the culture 90s guy with movies and TV. So we got to be able to laugh and have a good time while also going to battle as well. Because that's what we do in the military. We laugh, we play spades and poker and all that fun stuff when it's rest time. But when it's game on, we're on our mission in the fight and doing what we're trained to do. So yeah, Twitter at Drew Outstanding, and then more of the fun recovery stuff is on YouTube. So more of the adaptive sports, Operation Outstanding in Field on YouTube. Operation Outstanding in Field for some of my recovery adaptive sports videos.
I love that. I love that. Drew, something that you just said, and I was going through this, planning this interview and knowing your story and how we connected and your spirit and how you took this head on. You chose to stand up. You really are a true man of God, of faith, of perseverance. You've been conditioned in the military and God conditioned you in that hospital bed, and having a beautiful wife to support you in this process. You have a beautiful young son that you want to do this for. But as I'm going through the Bible verses in my head, I'm a Proverbs guy. I go there all the time. It's a book of wisdom. A verse jumped out to me, and I wanted to share this with you if it's not one that you knew, but this one speaks truly. And it was, a cheerful heart is good medicine, but a broken spirit saps a person's strength. And that's Proverbs 17:22. And I would say that your cheerful heart, that you've been able to push through this and see the good and the gratefulness and everything, has been the best medicine for you going forward. None of those pharmaceutical drugs, none of that stuff did, but that in itself, your spirit and standing up is your best medicine, and you sharing and helping others. I think that's amazing in your spirit.
Yeah, that's a good one. I love going through the Proverbs as well. Yeah, and just to re-say the one that I had, the Revelation 1:16, is in his right hand he held 7 stars, and coming out of his mouth was a sharp sword, meaning speaking and doing this, and a double-edged sword. His face was like sun shining in all its brilliance. So that's pretty cool to try to live up to, and just doing the best I can. And I just want to say I might be running out of battery shortly, so I just got to keep that in mind. Both myself and my computer too.
You're good. You're good. We're going to go ahead and wrap this up, man, because I know you got a flight to catch and you're flying out of here and your batteries and everything like that. But we appreciate you coming on. We appreciate everybody for tuning in, for listening. Guys, if you want to support Drew, he was in the hospital. He's got lots and lots of medical bills. That's only your choice. He does have a Give, Send, Go up. If you guys want to support his cause, you can also listen to him, hear his speak, join his conversations. If you're going through something or you just want to speak to this guy and give him praise for what he's going through, go to his Twitter, jump in his spaces. He's an amazing, amazing patriot. And we just thank you, Drew, for coming on, spending an hour with us to dive into the story. We're really humbled and honored to have you on, brother. It really was a blessing.
Thank you. And just to leave you with this, we're all going to run out of time, and when that time comes and we got to face our Creator, face God, and I just think of it like, it, if He asks, "Was there any more you could do?" and I want to be able to say, "No, I left it all on the field, all on the table. I did whatever I could," and I want to be able to say that. So anything I can do, I will.
Beautiful. I just got chills. I love that. I love that. You're a true man of God. I love your spirit, Drew. One thing we do on this show is we say a prayer. So I'd like to say a prayer to end the show, unless you want to do it, but I'll be honored to pray over you.
Please do. Thank you.
For sure, for sure. And guys, I just wanted to share for what Drew said. We all need to have that spirit. Are we doing everything that we can possibly do when we get to that time to say, yes, I did everything in my power that I could do? I want everybody to think about that as we go into this prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we just thank you for your spirit. We thank you for your spirit of healing that you clearly have placed upon Drew. And we just pray that you'll just continue, Father, to heal him. Allow him, give him the strength, give him the words, give him the ability to connect with everybody out there that would possibly be needed for him to come to. Father, that his words can bring healing to them, and so can yours. Father, we just thank you very much for this opportunity to connect, for this platform, that for anybody out there that hears this, that is hurting, that they too will seek you out, seek the humbleness in your words, and find the strength to stand up and to honor you, and to not take things lying down, but to be a bold voice for you, for their family, and for this country. Father, we pray that unification is spread across this whole entire nation, and that the government is able to come together with the right people to protect the people of America. We pray all these things humbly in the name of Jesus. Amen.
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 Amen. Thank you very much, Drew. It was a real honor coming on. Guys, if you enjoyed the show, subscribe, follow, like, share it for somebody else. Leave us a comment. Thank you very much for tuning in. Drew, it truly was a pleasure, brother.
It's an honor. Thank you.
Drew, great to see you again.